everybody. You're now listening to Rock Chalk Jayhawk with me, Jayhawk, a podcast brought to you by the Field of 68 Media Network. Make sure you rate, review, and hit the subscribe button on iTunes or anywhere else you get your podcast from. Now, I have a special announcement today from our sponsors, DraftKings Sportsbook. While the holiday season may be winding down, the sports calendar is in full swing this week. From college to professional sports, there is no shortage of action, and there is no better place to get all this action other than DraftKings Sportsbook, America's top-rated sportsbook app. If you haven't tried it out on DraftKings Sportsbook, what are you waiting for? To celebrate this year's college football playoffs, DraftKings is giving all new users a chance to bet on a semifinal team to win the championship at 101 odds. That's right. All you have to do is bet $1 on a semifinal team to win the championship, and your team wins cash, $100. $100 cash. While we're excited for football, let's not forget 2021 basketball season just kicked off. Head of the app, so check it out. DraftKings Daily Odds Boost. DraftKings is safe, secure, reliable, making it easy for you to deposit and withdraw your money at your convenience. Make sure you download the top-rated app at DraftKings Sportsbook app now and use the promo code FIELD68. Field68 is the promo code. Use that when you sign up to get 100 to 1 odds on any semifinal team to win it all. That code again is Field68 for new players to get a $100 on picking any semifinal team this week for just a limited time. So you got to act fast. And it's only at DraftKings Sportsbook. You must be 21 years old to do this. And restrictions will apply if you are 21 or older in New Jersey, Indiana, and Pennsylvania only. Those are where the restrictions apply. See DraftKings.com/sportsbook for details. Gambling problems, please call 1-800-GAMBLER or in Indiana, 1-800-9-WITH-IT. The intro for our next guest will go on for hours and hours if I listed all of his accolades. He was a two-time NBA All-Star, NBA Sixth Man of the Year, NCAA champion, and most outstanding player in the Final Four that year. Oh, did I mention the #1 draft pick? Oh, yeah. And the all-time leading scorer at KU. Welcome to the podcast, D-Man.
Oh, how you doing, man?
I'm doing good, man. I'm just trying to stay COVID, maintain my distance, trying to stay as COVID-free, to keep the family as COVID-free as we can, and just, trying to get this podcast going, man, and doing my high school basketball. How about you, man?
Well, Hawk, it's been very fortunate and very blessed. I've had the opportunity to work with ESPN this year on college basketball, so that's been fun and exciting. And no different than you. I mean, my kids are adults now, and so keeping up with them. My son is at Gonzaga. He's a GA there, and my daughter's in Colorado. My wife is doing well, so we're just enjoying life right now.
Yeah, that's good to hear, man. You the GOAT, D-man, because you already took away my first question. Obviously, we're talking about the commentating with ESPN. You said that was fun and exciting, but how much have you enjoyed doing that? I know it's a little bit different, but how much have you enjoyed doing that?
I've really enjoyed it a lot. I'm learning a lot. As you go in, you're on studio. I have great hosts. I have a great sidekick in Sean Farnham who's helping me out, walking me through the process. And, the best part is you sit down and you watch ball all day, then you get a chance to talk about it. Yeah. And so that's what I really enjoy. And, I couldn't ask for better hosts and producers. They're doing a great job of walking me through the process and just trying to learn and get better each time that I do it.
Yeah, well, when I definitely heard that you were commentating with ESPN, man, it definitely was like, up there's somebody I definitely got to listen to. So it's glad to definitely be able to have you on that stage, and I know you got some bigger and better things that'll be coming your way as well too, because obviously with your work ethic. But let's dive into let's keep it rolling, man. Let's dive into this year's squad, current Jayhawk squad. What's been your overall impression of them so far this year?
Overall impression is they're developing. You know, this year more than any other year in college basketball, you're going to have growing pains coming out of the gates. That's not KU, that's every team, because you don't have the closed door scrimmages, you don't have any early season tune-up type games, if you will. And so coming out of the gates, I mean, they run into the number one team in the country.
Yeah.
And they showed people why they were the number one team in the country, but they've continued to improve. And I think from that very first game to now, you know, we know Coach Self, we know what he's about defensively, and the team has continued to get better defensively each time out. I think offensively right now, they're trying to find their flow. I think one of the biggest misconceptions about this year's team is people don't realize how good Doak was.
Yeah.
Doak was a beast in the middle. He had great hands. He had great vertical jumping ability. And David McCormack is a talented basketball player. He's just not Doak.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah,
and he's
sure.
and he's doing a really good job with that in terms of he's starting to figure out continuing to move his feet, posting up, getting angles defensively, protecting the rim. Also going to come play position defense because he doesn't elevate as high as Doak.
Yeah.
And then I think offensively, I think this is one of the first teams I've seen KU with it. They don't have a guard who's just got that breakdown ability to get into the teeth of the defense and make plays. I think Garrett is a terrific all-around basketball player, but he doesn't have the speed that Dotson has. You know, he doesn't have the speed that you had or Aaron Miles had of getting into the paint and making something happen. And so this year's team, they're shooting the ball well at times. I think that's going to have to be a consistent for KU to continue to grow and get better as the season rolls on.
Yeah. And, you know, you mentioned David McCormack, and I think, you know, he definitely is going to he has the opportunity to play a big role moving down, especially down in the stretch with the thick of Big 12 play and obviously moving into NCAA. But he had one of his best games against West Virginia. You know, what do you think he needs to continue to do to keep getting those minutes and keep that momentum going?
Well, I think David's athletic ability, I think with the amount of long jump shots that we're shooting right now, I think he has an opportunity to get some offensive rebound putbacks. I think he plays a little bit better in space. You know, you think about the West Virginia bigs, they got two grown men down there that are physically massive, and David matches up well with them. But I thought he did a much better job of moving his feet, sealing for angles, and getting to the backboard with a little bit more, not intensity, but probably with more quickness. I think a lot of times he labors into his moves, but when he gets to the rim quickly, you know, he gives himself an opportunity to score and get fouled.
Yeah. So, I mean, you talked a little bit earlier about, you know, kind of KU's inability, just not having that Dotson that can just break down the defense, get into the lane. Who do you think this team's kind of, when they need a bucket, who's that guy that you feel like they can give the ball to and that's giving them the best shot to be successful, just attacking the basket?
To me, I think the best matchup, not saying, I mean, the best matchup I feel is Wilson.
Yeah.
Especially when he's playing the four, I don't think there are too many four men that can keep up with him in terms of putting it down on the floor and then stretching the floor and getting out there to him. I just think that's the best matchup to attack at times. And I think when he's making shots, he puts the ball down on the floor, it opens up things for everyone else. But this team, I mean, they've got to continue to get out and score in transition. I think Garrett is a beast when he has a head of steam and he's getting downhill. And I think Brown is an unsung hero to me. He does it all. He defends, he scores, he rebounds at a high clip, and he has great understanding of the game. And I think the rest of those guys are going to come along. But those two guys, when I talk about Garrett, Brown, and Wilson, that third guy, I mean, those guys got to make it go.
Yeah, for sure. So, you know, they obviously have some tough games coming up with Texas and Baylor. And the Big 12 is always going to be a beast. It's each game you're going to night in, night out. You're going to get the best of each team, whether you won one game or you haven't lost a game. You're always going to get a team's a best matchup. But kind of, what do you think KU? Do you think actually KU is considered a favorite to win the Big 12 this year?
I think KU is going to win the Big 12. I don't think they're a favorite to win the Big 12.
Yeah.
I think, as we all know, the history that Coach Self has, the Big 12 runs through Lawrence, and it has for a very long time. And I think that's going to be the case this year. But I mean, you look at the conference. Baylor, their guards are tremendous, and they've got great front court players.
Yeah.
Texas can beat you with the front court or also their back court. Texas Tech is really talented. We talked about West Virginia.
Yeah.
And, there are a lot of other teams that I think Oklahoma State is a talented team, especially with Cade Cunningham that can creep up there. But, those 5 teams, they're going to be in the top 20 all year long, and they're going to beat up on each other in conference.
Yeah.
I think it's going to make them better once they get to postseason play. But I think at the end of the day, I just believe that Coach Self and the Jayhawks are going to find a way to win it again.
Well, I'm right there with you, Danny. Hey, so quick question, Danny. How do you feel? Because this is something that, I didn't experience, you didn't experience as a player. Like, what do you feel with obviously with COVID, the fewer fans, not just in the field house, but all teams across the nation? Do you feel that with fewer fans, it's putting an effect onto the game? And maybe for like the field house where, once you come in there, it's the crowd and the fans are going to get you. Is that giving the opposing teams maybe an advantage?
I think the COVID situation has really rocked athletics or sports in general. You talk about the distinct home court advantage that we have in Allen Fieldhouse with a packed house and the energy and the juice and being able to feed off the crowd and the crowd being knowledgeable about the game. So I think you're right. I think, teams now when they play road games, I don't want to say the intimidation factor, but the energy factor from the crowd is not there, or it's not prevalent as much as it was in the past. And so I think that's something that all teams are being affected with. But Hawk, to me, it goes back to the way you played growing up. We were on the park. We were at the rec center. We didn't have a crowd other than the guys that are waiting to get on the ice. And so, I think one of the things that all basketball players in college have to do a better job of understanding now is, especially coming from where I'm coming from, the TV analyst point of view, is everything that you say can be picked up. Everything that you can say can be picked up. Now, I will say this. I think all teams will be better across the board at the end of the year because of the lack of fans, because the communication factor is big now. The coach Self can be on one end of the court, the team can be on the other playing defense or offense, and he can be able to verbally yell out what he wants them to do, and you can hear it. But when the Allen Fieldhouse is packed, it doesn't matter how loud he's yelling. You're not going to hear anything on the other end of the court. You barely hear anything right in front of him. And so I think that's something that all teams will benefit from, especially, the guys on the bench, the scout team. Now their voices can be heard throughout the whole game on both ends of the court. And I think that's something that will come into play as we move further down the line with this. And then also understanding that, when you come out of a game now, it's not a quick shot to seeing you walking to go sit down. It's a long pan. And they're going to follow you sit down. They're going to look at your body language. They're going to look at you, if you're mumbling something. They're going to look at your interaction with your teammates. And that's something that, I've been reaching out to a lot of the coaches that I know and just say, hey, make sure you guys understand that when they come out of the game, the camera's going to be on them for a while because there is no crowd shot. There is no, crowd. You can pan to the crowd and see them going crazy. It's the energy now is coming from the bench. And I think the better teams this year have had great bench energy. Their bench is locked. They're locked in. They're focused on the game, and they're giving their guys juice and energy.
Yeah, that's a great point, D. It is the juice, and it's a different scenario. But like when I've been watching a lot of the games, it's like, man, you could tell the teams that were really going on a run when you really hear that bench just cheering, because like you say, there's no fans in there, maybe some parents depending on where the game is at, but it's from that bench, man. And if that bench can really get involved, they're almost like that sixth man where the crowd would be. So that's a great point, D.
Yeah, no question about it.
Yeah. So D, let's move a little bit into your playing days, man. So did you ever feel that squad in '88 was going to make that run in the tournament?
Jeff, you know what? At the beginning of the year, when the team was being put together in the off season, I thought we had a chance to win a national championship. Okay. You know, we had some guys coming in that were junior college All-Americans. We had a really good base returning from our previous team. And I know at least one publication had us preseason number one. Not everybody, but at least, you know, one publication did. And I thought we had a chance to be really good. And then the season comes around and we don't get off to the start that we wanted to. We lose players because of Coach Brown feeling that they're not a good fit for the team and ask them to remove themselves in a kinder way, I guess, if you will. And then we added a couple of football players, and Clint Normore and Marvin Maddox, to help us with our numbers. But those guys were all state players, Clint in Kansas and Marvin in California. And so they brought a level of toughness that we didn't have. And every game that we lost was, every time you lose, it's not any fun. It's challenging. It's hard. But every time Coach Brown would come in the locker room, he'd be like, hey, guys, we're this close. I mean, we're right there. We just got to tighten this up. We got to tighten this up. We got to get better at this, and then the outcome will be different. And then we continued to buy into that. We continued to buy into that. And then it all clicked at one point for us. But, you know, we were just a really good group of guys in terms of a team. We weren't the most talented. We weren't the most athletic, but we all accepted our roles and we all did what we needed to do not to let your teammate down. Yeah. So if I had an obligation that I was supposed to post up and get a certain post position, I wanted to make sure I did that so my guard could get me the basketball. Or defensively, I wanted to always make sure that I was in my right place defensively, but Chris Piper was probably the defensive stalwart on our team in the front court, and he had his hands full night in and night out. And, you know, so making sure that I was putting myself in a situation to help him. Milton Newton doing the same thing, guarding the other team's small forward night in and night out. You know, Kevin Pritchard, Jeff Gilner, all those guys. Everybody just accepted their role and wanted to fulfill their role so we wouldn't let each other down. And that propelled us, and that gave us a chance to have success. And then we liked playing. We liked playing basketball. We didn't like all the practice hours that Coach Brown put us through. But I'm sure you can relate to that. But we like playing the game, and it was fun. But, you know, for us, that '88 team, the nucleus of the guys, you go back to '86 when we lost in the Final Four. I played a terrible game. We lost in the first round of the Final Four, and we had Chris Piper was there, Milt Newton was there, Scooter Berry was there, you know, Archie Marshall was there. And we all understood that, you know, if we ever get this opportunity again, we got to figure out a way to make sure it's a different outcome. And that played a huge part in '88 for us. Man,
that's awesome, man. So obviously playing the national championship game against a conference opponent, I mean, that had to be wild. I mean, do you feel like because they were a conference opponent, you felt like you had the edge, or was just like, man, we got to be even more in our P's and Q's because they already know everything about us? Like, what was you guys' kind of mindset going into that game?
Well, not only the championship game, Jeff, but if we go back, I mean, we played Duke early in the season. They beat us at home. To get to the Final Four, we played K-State, which was another conference opponent. Yeah. And so for us, there was a level of familiarity. Not saying that we were comfortable in knowing that we were going to beat them, but the scouting report didn't take as long. Yeah. We had a better understanding of, okay, we're playing Oklahoma. This is Coach Tubbs' team. They're going to play fast. They're going to be aggressive. We got to make sure that we attack the pressure. We got to make sure we go make ourselves available when they trap the basketball. When one of our teammates is trapped, that we get to our open spots. We got to make sure we take good shots. We got to make sure we play at the tempo and pace that we want to play at. And that was the mindset for us. I mean, the last thing that we talked about stepping out on that court at Kemper Arena playing for that championship game is, man, nobody expected us to be here. Let's just go ball and have fun.
Yeah.
And for us, you know, that was kind of the mindset, and we played very free, and we had great confidence in the coach. You know, we had a Hall of Fame coach, and we knew if it came down to the end and it was close, he was going to find a way for us to be successful, and that was just our mindset.
Yeah. So, Danny, what was your favorite all-time game playing in the field house? Is there one that stands out?
Yeah, my favorite all-time game in the field house, Jeff, I don't know if I can say just one. You know, playing one game that really comes to mind is, I want to say, my sophomore year, we're playing Oklahoma. And some jump ball happens, and somehow I get it, and I'm able to finish with a dunk to start the game off. And I don't know at that point if I ever heard the field house any louder, or maybe I was just paying attention to it at that particular time. But it was just like the roof just blew off the building. And, you know, that was a great moment for me. But, you know, probably one of the loudest moments for me was when you were playing and Keith hit that shot against Georgia Tech.
Yeah.
And that was one of those moments where we're just like, wow, Keith Langford makes this tremendous shot. I think we're going to overtime.
Yeah.
But when he hit that shot, and the crowd noise was unbelievable. And another moment for me was Thomas Robinson playing against Oklahoma and the block shot at the end of the game to save the game. I mean, those moments were moments to me that were just great and fortunate and blessed to be a part of, but it was just so loud. I mean, you're looking at somebody right next to you and you can't even communicate with them because it's so loud. And then you realize how special it is to play in that building. And a lot of times as players going through it, we take it for granted.
Yeah.
You know, we take for granted, you know, walking out of the locker room and stepping over fans and acknowledging fans that are sitting out 2 days or a week before we get ready to play a game.
Yeah.
And then for me, you know, I've been very fortunate and blessed to have a lot of great experiences and going to different bucket list gyms.
Yeah.
But, you know, to me, the field house is still the cream of the crop. And it's a very special place.
It's a special place. And, you know, obviously coaching in the ACC, you got to go against, got to play at Duke and at North Carolina. So how does the Dean Dome and Cameron, I have not been to a game there. That's still on my bucket list, just so I can hear the noise level. I'm just going to hear the noise level. But how do they compare to the field house?
When you walk in,
3 games where it was real loud.
Yeah, I mean, when you walk into those types of gyms, you already have a feeling of what you're going to expect because of watching it on TV and hearing so much about it.
Yeah.
And so going into Cameron at Duke, it's similar to the field house. It's just they don't have as many fans.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, they still have the bleachers that pull out. It's a cozy confinement, a little bit cozier than what the field house is, and their students are really active and involved, and so it's a cool venue to go into without question. North Carolina, a little bit more of a pro feel, if you will, because of the Dean Dome is so much bigger. So the fans are there and they're a part of the game, but they're not quite on top of you like they are at the field house or at Duke. And another gym to me that I was blown away from seeing it on TV than actually walking into it, because my perception was a little bit different, was the Carrier Dome, Syracuse. It's not called the Carrier Dome now. They probably have some different naming rights, but walking into that was like playing in what you would consider a Final Four or an Elite Eight event, because it's more of the football dome feel, which it is, a Carrier Dome. But that was also a cool environment to go in to see how they set that up. And so, you know, for me, being able to walk into those types of gyms, was a bucket list item that you talked about earlier, no different than when I was a pro and I got to go into the Inglewood Forum, or I got to go into Boston Garden or Madison Square Garden. You know, all those gyms are bucket list gyms that you feel the history, you feel the presence of great basketball and all the other people that have gone through there, and you know that you're fortunate to have that type of experience.
Well, hey, so you played for Hall of Fame coach Larry Brown and worked for Hall of Fame coach Self. You know, what are some of the things that, you know, you've taken from them and, you know, put into your own philosophy, whether it's any morals, defensively, offensively, anything that you've put into your everyday now philosophy?
Absolutely, Jeff. Those, you know, Coach Brown, Coach Self, and my father have the biggest impact and influence on me as what I wanted to do with a program as a coach. And, you know, Coach Brown made me a better person. He made me a better basketball player. And that's something that I try to instill when I coach whatever level, whether it's my kids' itty bitty teams like you've done in the past, or it's a college team. Those are things that you want to do day in and day out. And one of the things I learned from Coach Self was the amount of time that he invests in his players and building relationships and understanding who they are as people. Because Coach Brown, Coach Self, those guys challenge you day in and day out to be the best that you can be. And the one thing that I noticed about Coach Self is he makes deposits in that relationship bank.
Yeah.
He makes them over and over again. And sometimes you don't see all of them because he doesn't share those with everybody. But there's always some type of communication or deposit going into that bank because he's going to make his withdrawals. Yeah. He's going to take those withdrawals out during practice when he's challenging you to be the best that you can be or challenging you to be better than what you were the possession before. And so that's something that I definitely take away from Coach Self and his mentality. Also, just, you know, you go back and you think about when you were playing, we had a really good team. And at the time, we were running 2-game, which is Coach Self's world-claimed high-low offense. And then we go through some injuries, and then we become a ball screen team on the fly.
Yeah.
And it was just like, you know, you sit back and you think about that now, and you see where the game of basketball has evolved. Yeah. And, you know, we were doing things when you were playing ball screen-wise and dribble handoff-wise that now is commonplace 10, 15 years after the fact. And so just the mind that Coach Self has in his vision is something that I'm extremely impressed with.
It's funny you talk about Coach Self's, his mind of the game, because like I knew this guy was like just a kind of a freak of nature, just coach mind-wise, when like he would be able to break down like plays, 4 and 5 plays in practice. Like, no. You were here. You just, I'm like, dang man, how did he catch that? You know, some coaches, you get by like, yeah, he ain't gonna remember that.
Yeah.
Coach Self like, yeah. And that 6th possession back, you were here. That was your mistake because you should have came off the screen. You like, dang man, you can't get.
Yeah, his mind is unbelievable. I mean, it's and for me, like when I think of Coach Self, it reminds me of Coach Brown. Because Coach Brown was the same way. And, you know, those two guys, and what they're able to recall, and a lot of times for me with Coach Brown, it was, Coach, I don't know if I saw it that way. Coach, I don't know if you know, I'm saying to myself, I don't know if you're right. And I'm looking at Coach like, I don't. And then all of a sudden, that's when he goes back 12 plays and goes, okay. You didn't do this play before. The play before that, you didn't do this. The play before that, you didn't do this. The play before that, and it's just like that's when you're one of those. All right, let me just be quiet and
all right, I
try
got
to get better. Yeah.
Hey, so you won a championship as a player and a championship as a coach at KU. Did it feel the same winning each, or what was the difference? I mean.
Difference in winning a championship as a player and a coach. As a player, you're much more naive into what goes into winning a championship. I mean, yeah, you go into the gym in the off season and, we want to win a championship. I'm going to work hard. I'm going to lift. I'm going to get my shots up. I'm going to do this. I'm going to do that. As a coach, you understand, wow, We got to get good matchups with who we're playing. We got to have a good scouting report. We got to lock into the scout report. We got to understand the scout report. We got to be healthy. Guys have to be available. And then we got to get some breaks along the way. Yeah. And then so all those things go into it as a coach and more. But as a player, you just out there, we're going to ball. We're going to win the championship. And that's your thought process. And you believe at that point in time, that's all that's needed. But as a coach, you understand there's so many different things that go into it. And then that doesn't even take into account the chemistry of your team throughout the year and guys wanting guys to be successful. And that's something that is, in this day of instant gratification that a lot of players have, that's hard to do. Yeah. You know, when we look at the last 7 years, the number of kids that have transferred, the numbers have gone up astronomically each year. And next year, it's going to set the record. Yeah. It's going to set a record because if the rules go through and people are immediately eligible to transfer, it's a different ballgame. And so now as coaches, you go from developing programs to the pro mindset of preparing for a season. Yeah. Because I can't count on getting a freshman and saying, okay, I'm going to groom him. I'm going to get him better his sophomore year, his junior year, his senior year. He'll be ready to take on the world. That's not going to happen.
Yeah.
Because if he doesn't, because he'll leave after his freshman year if he feels like he should be playing more or he didn't like his opportunity. It doesn't matter if the guy in front of him or the guys in front of him were better.
Yeah.
That doesn't matter. You know, I should have played more. Well, yeah, you probably should have, but the guys playing in front of you are better than you right now. And sometimes, it's young men, because I just do, coaching young men, they don't want to hear that, but that's the truth of the matter. When I go back and I think being a coach on Coach Self's staff, 1 year we had Colt Aldridge, Markeith, and Marcus Morris. Mm-hmm. Those were the three bigs in the rotation. Thomas Robinson and Jeff Whitney were on the red team, or the scout team, if you will. 5 guys that played in the NBA, 5 guys that were first-round draft picks.
Yep.
Guys don't put themselves in situations like that to get better. I don't think you'll ever have a team where you have 5 players for 2 positions that are all end up being first-round draft picks. Yeah. And the majority of them lottery picks. Guys just don't put themselves in those situations.
And that's where to me as a player, and I'm talking to one of the greatest, and you're mentioning it right now, so we obviously know that lives in you, man. To be the best, you got to play the best, and you want to try to play against the top tier, whether you feel like you're ready for it or not. You want to be in that tier because when you start making mistakes and counter mistakes and getting better, that's when the confidence starts to grow. And obviously we can already tell, D-Man, that's embedded in you. So, number one all scorer of KU history. Simple dimple.
One thing, Hawk, it's competition is good.
Yeah.
And a lot of people only want competition in games. They don't want it in practice.
Yep.
But iron sharpens iron.
Yeah.
That's how teams get better. You look at, and it doesn't matter what level you're talking about, if you have competition on a daily basis, you're starting to really see growth and development. There's nothing wrong with going home after a day of practice, and it happened to you. Yeah. Aaron Miles got the best of me today. I got to come back tomorrow and be better. And then he goes home the next day and go, man, Hawk put it on me today. I got to get in the gym and get better and work. And those are the things that make you better. Yeah. And so, that's the mindset. So I look at all these college teams that coaches are able to play 8, 9, 10 players. And I really enjoy watching those teams play. Yeah. Because one, I know there's a sacrifice that goes into the team aspect. And 2, that competition breeds camaraderie.
Yep.
It makes guys, it makes you want to see your brother, see your teammate have success.
Yeah.
And in a lot of ways, in my eyes, it takes away jealousy. It takes away a selfish mindset of saying, wow, you know what? Yeah, I would like to play more, but he's out there balling right now. So I got to be ready when my opportunity comes. But yeah, I can't blame coach for leaving him in the game. He's playing well, and our team is having success. And at the end of the day, that's what it's all about.
And if you, like you just said it, D, if guys can have that mindset, a whole team, I mean, would you agree, Danny? Is that a championship caliber team?
Absolutely. You know, I think, you know, the better teams have a certain mindset. And sometimes they're not always as deep as other teams in terms of the number of bodies that they play. But every day that they step out there on the court, they're trying to find a way to get better. They're not trying to get through practice. They're not trying to shortcut certain drills, or, you know, you're running sprints, and instead of touching the line, maybe the coach isn't looking, and I'm going to stop 2 or 3 inches short just so I can try to get back and make my time. You know, those are all the best teams are in a way self-policed. They're self-governed.
Yeah.
The players handle a lot of it. You know, the coaches are there without question. The head coach is there. He's providing great leadership and understanding of this is what I want. But it's in that locker room. It's the players holding each other accountable. And when you have that driving force on your team, that's when your teams really take off.
Yeah, that's a great point, D. Hey, so D, you played 14 years in the league. Did you have a spot where that was like your favorite spot? How many teams did you play on?
Hawk, I was 15 years and I played on, I want to say
my bad,
17.
my bad.
That's all right. Yeah, don't cheat me. Don't cheat me now. No, you know, for me, going and getting drafted by the Los Angeles Clippers was a great honor. It was a lot of anxiety, a lot of walking into a situation. I go from Lawrence, Kansas, where, you know, I get my scholarship check and I go down to Dillon's and get my groceries too. You know, having some money in my pocket when I moved to the city of LA, and I was scared to death. I didn't know what to expect. I grew to love LA. Yeah, you know, my kids were born there. We made it home for 5 years. So I would say LA and Phoenix. Phoenix was the first team I got a chance to decide where I wanted to go play as a free agent.
Yeah.
And I was there for 5 years. And so Phoenix and LA are two places that really hold special places to me. I mean, all the places I played, I feel very fortunate and blessed, but there's a definite connection between LA and Phoenix for me.
Yeah, that's awesome. So kind of talking about the NBA, how do you feel? Because you mentioned Doak. How do you feel Doak's game will translate into the NBA?
I think Doak's game, I think Doak is going to be a very successful player for a very long time. I think the team that he's on now, the Utah Jazz, he is going to have to fulfill and understand the role that Rudy Gobert is their starting center, and he will be their starting center for a very long time.
Yeah.
so understanding that, you know, continuing to work and get better. Quinn Snyder is a friend. He's a great coach. He's done a tremendous job there. And just trying to get better each and every day that you go out there on the court. And, you know, he'll get an opportunity to move on in terms of a different role, not necessarily a different team, as he continues to grow and evolve in the league. But this was a very tough off season for all the incoming rookies in the NBA. We talked about COVID in college, but you know, the NBA, I mean, usually you get summer league opportunities where you get to go play maybe 12 to almost 20 games in summer league, plus practices, and get a chance to watch film and understand the mindset and mentality of the coach, of the program. You know, you have your veteran players that come back and get in some workouts and get a feel for you, and you get a chance to get a feel for them. And the rookies this year didn't have that opportunity. And so they're learning on the fly. And all coaches, you know, you're going to go with guys that you know can get it done at that level. And Doak just hasn't had the opportunity to really show what he's capable of, because he hasn't had, a lot of games. He hasn't had a lot of practices, and so he's just finding his way now, like all rookies for the most part.
Yeah.
I think he's going to have a very long career. His body is so developed. He was developed when he walked in the door, and he continued to evolve and grow. But I think his hands are tremendous. We talked about him being able to go vertical and catch lobs and protect the rim and things of that nature. But his shoulders, to me, give him a really good chance to be successful at that professional level, because he carves out space in the paint.
Yeah, for sure. All right, Danny, we're almost wrapping it up. I got my quick fire. I got about 5 quick fire questions for you, but I got one for your son, Evan, who I can kind of say it's kind of like, well, he's my KU blood brother for basketball.
Yeah.
I mean, your brother too as well too, because you played. So your brother and son. But Evan was on your staff at Wake. How cool was that to have Evan on staff with you? And obviously you mentioned he's at Gonzaga right now.
Jeff, it was one of the best experiences I ever had. For me, I had that same type of experience. My father was an assistant at KU when I was there. And so that was, it was a little bit different, player coach.
Yeah.
But to have him on my staff was, for me, I enjoyed it every day. Walking in and not only just because he's your son, but just what he brought to us. I mean, he made me a better coach. He gave me a better understanding of guys. We're sitting up there and I'm saying, hey, I want to do this, this, and this. And it has nothing to do with basketball. It just might be some type of team bonding activity that we're going to do. And I'm like, man, that sounds cool. And I look at everyone like, nah, man, I don't want to do that. I'm like, what are you talking about? Like, nah, that's in your day. Let me tell you what they want to do now. So, having those moments were great. And then Jeff, he's going to be a terrific coach. He's got a great mind. Even the guys that he was with, his group of guys, to me, Tyler Self and Nico Roberts, those dudes were peas in a pod, and they all went everywhere together and they hung out together.
Yeah.
And, Tyler's doing really well with the Spurs G League team, moving up in the front office. Nico is working with the NCAA, and Evans in college basketball. And so, for me, having him around was great. I enjoyed it and cherished every moment of it. And one of my favorite pictures that I have is, I got a couple of them. During timeouts, we're standing next to each other, or the national anthem. I have pictures in my office and, different places that I really cherish of us just being on the court together. And so for me, I feel very fortunate and blessed to have had that experience.
Well, that's cool, man. And Evan, man, he's a stand-up guy, man. I've always loved him. He always kind of like paid respect to, you always pay respect to the elders in the program. So he kind of always did that to me, but Evan was always a cool dude. Love talking to him. And I knew those guys, like you said, Tyler, Evan, Nico, since they were little yay high running around here.
Hey, Hawk, Tyler and Evan used to sit on the bench during games when you were a player. And so, that was something that, how cool was that? As you grew up in the Kansas City area, you know what Kansas basketball means. So to be in junior high or elementary school and sitting on the end of the bench in Allen Fieldhouse, and all those two dudes would do, hey, Dad, we're hungry, man. Can we eat on the bench? Like, no, you can't eat on the bench. Just pay attention to the game and learn.
And we be passing them gum, though. We be passing them gum. Here you go.
Yeah.
Mouthful of gum at the end of the bench. Well, Danny, I'm gonna hop into. Hey, let's train. We're gonna go right into the five quick fire questions, man. What do you miss about Lawrence?
What do I miss about Lawrence? You know what, Jeff? I don't miss much because I'm around. My mother's there, my mother-in-law's there, my sister's there. So I get a chance now to come back a little bit more than I have in the past. But it's not what I miss, it's the growth of Lawrence.
Okay, yeah.
It's the growth of the university. I'm walking on campus, or I'm driving through campus, and it's like, damn, that's a new building.
Yeah.
Or this wasn't attached to the field house. Or, so to me, I love seeing the growth of Lawrence.
Yeah, it's funny. I'll mention this, Coach Holiday. When I was on my visit, actually at KU, going up Naismith Drive, kind of headed towards that bookstore turn.
Mm-hmm.
We're in a little golf cart. He was like, it was some construction going on. He said, hey, you know you're at a good school when there's always construction going on. So every
That's
time
right.
I see a crane, a bulldozer, whatever, I'm like, man, yep, Coach Holliday said you're at a good school when that means they're building stuff.
That's right. That's right.
Got
Yes.
money flowing through.
Mm-hmm.
So if you were in Lawrence for one day and you couldn't not cooking and you got to eat out, where are you going?
If I'm in Lawrence for one day and I have to go get a meal somewhere, you know what? For me, Jeff, I mean, you're taking me back to high school days until now. So there are a lot of places that weren't in Lawrence when I first got there. So I'm going to say one place, and people are going to think I'm nuts for saying this. When I first got to Lawrence, I liked the Fur's cafeteria.
Okay, I
like when I first got there, and then you know, as a college student, it was the wheel.
Yeah.
Going there getting a Woo burger, and you know, as an adult now, I would probably say Milton's is one of my favorite places to get a meal. Yeah. Yes.
I can do that Milton's breakfast anytime.
Yes.
Man. Ooh,
yes.
ooh.
Yes.
Might put that on the bucket list now. All right. So if the 88 championship team played the 2008 championship, who's gonna win?
2008. You got more players. I mean, you had more bigs at that particular time than we had, you know, and the way that the game was being played. I think we'd have made it a game. We'd have made it a game. We'd have made it a game, but you know, I mean, that 2018 was special, very special.
Yeah, so was that 88 too, man. Yeah. Number one all time. Who's shutting Danny down? Nobody. I'll answer that for you. There we go. Hey, so Danny, if you could have played with one player that played at KU after you did, so you didn't have a chance to play with him, who would that player be? Who would you like to play?
If I had a chance to play with one player that played after me at KU, I'd probably pick Paul Pierce.
Okay.
And I picked Paul for a lot of different reasons, but I think there was a time when Paul got to KU, and like all talented players, you know, he starts to feel his way his freshman year, and then it's a little bit better than understands, wow, I got a chance to do something special and play at a special place. And you can just see his growth and evolution take off as a player. Yeah. So he would be the one guy that I would enjoy playing with. And also, I like his brashness on the court as a teammate. I like his confidence level.
Yeah, that's a great pick, man. Paul, PP, man, one of the greatest too to come.
About to go in the Hall of Fame.
You say what?
He's about to go into the National Basketball Hall of Fame. Deserving honor. Yes,
very deserving honor. Rock chalk for that one. Hey, so Danny, last one for you. Most memorable moment in the NBA and KU.
Most memorable moment for me in the NBA. I got to give you a couple. I can't give you one. And most of mine have to do with, I blew my knee out 3 times in the NBA. So being able to come back from that injury 3 times in the NBA was something that was very memorable for me. That's something I'm very proud of. Making the All-Star team and being 6th man of the year. Those were the other things that really stood out to me, because not necessarily the accolades of saying you made the All-Star team or you were the 6th man of the year, but the work that went into coming back from a knee injury, as you can understand, at that level was something I was very proud of. And I was very fortunate. I had great doctors, great therapists to help and push, and my family there supporting me. But those moments for me are the most special. And for me at KU, I mean, obviously it goes back to, you know, winning the championship in 1988, but also, you know, 86. You know, not playing well against Duke was great fuel for me as a player to want to go out and find ways to continue to get better and develop and grow.
Yeah. Well, you guys, man, Rock Chalk Jayhawk, you heard it from one of the greatest to ever put on a KU uniform. Great guy. Proud to call him a friend. Danny Manning. Thank you guys, Jayhawk Nation. Thanks so much for listening to Rock Chalk Jayhawk with me, Jayhawk, a podcast brought to you by the Field of 68 Media Network. Make sure you rate, review, and hit the subscribe button on iTunes or anywhere you get your podcast from. You can follow and hit the subscribe button on Field of 68 Media Network YouTube channel. Make sure you hit that up as well, too. Danny, appreciate you, man. Can't wait to continue to follow you, man, because I know you got some big things that are ahead of you, man. But as of now, I'm definitely going to enjoy watching you on ESPN, man.
Well, Hawk, thank you very much for having me, and let you know I'm extremely happy and proud of you, seeing you continue to grow and develop. And I wish you nothing but the best, man.
I appreciate it, Danny. Hey, love you, man.
Take care. All right, much love, my man. Take care.